podcast about using artificial intelligence at Onix, where I ask all the employees how and who uses it. Today we have Volodymyr Perepelytsia, the head of the React Department. And my name is Serhii. Hello, everyone. I hope we'll have a relaxed atmosphere together. I've prepared some questions for you that I'd like to ask. First, tell me, how long have you been experimenting with AI in development?
Probably since Copilot beta, if we're talking specifically about AI. There was also tab 9, but at the time it was more just a collection of code rather than any sophisticated kind of artificial intelligence agent. Back then it wasn't positioned that way. Yeah. So you could say it started with some early things like tab 9 and then later with the closed Copilot beta.
By the way, just last week I carefully checked our recent chat, specifically our Slack chat, and I discovered some interesting details. We're sharing information in the Yen Club, and there's a message from you there, right? In 2022, as soon as you gained access to the remarkable Copilot, you immediately posted your profound amazement at precisely how incredibly well it truly works.
It was actually really interesting. I was on their waiting list for quite a while, and I got access to Copilot probably about a week before they opened it to the public. So I didn't get it much earlier than, say, anyone else, just a bit before everyone else.
Here, I'll even show you. Look, imagine this was March of 2022. Yeah. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, that's really cool. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic.
Nice. Okay. So how have you been using it since then? Or have you only been ramping up?
Using tools now feels a lot like when the entire world went a bit crazy last time and we all collectively rushed away from the widely used PHP. We moved into front-ends and back-ends built on Node.js and then subsequently into other frameworks and technologies. Every day there was a new framework constantly popping up, like Ember, Meteor, and Sails, and then of course the incredibly influential React and absolutely everything that developed around React, shaping the modern web development scene. Now the same thing is happening with React-like frameworks, and now every day we hear about new models or new tools that have become possible thanks to these models.
Cool. Tell me, what tools? Which ones are you using now? Which ones are interesting to you? Which ones give you the best results?
Right now, I'm intensely focused on Cursor, primarily because of its remarkable versatility. You can either seamlessly integrate almost anything into its powerful framework, or you can effortlessly extract the absolute maximum utility and benefit from its comprehensive features. Furthermore, you have the capability to directly connect the advanced Cloud Code agent to Cursor, a significant advantage that has been available ever since it became accessible at its current highly competitive price point, $20 a month. That's already a more competitive price because using it by tokens turned out to be very expensive. Using it in any other way was also, quite frankly, incredibly expensive and financially burdensome. At first, everyone was focused on GitHub Copilot, and in general, people are still working with it now. For the most part, it has consistently remained at the fundamental level of inline suggestions. Now they're trying to revive it with the Copilot agent, which works kind of like Cursor, but only started about half a year ago.
And it connects directly to VS Code?
Well, I use it with WebStorm VS Code. I've already stopped using it because Cursor is almost the same as VS.
Honestly, I even feel a bit bad about it because now whenever I write something, mostly when I experiment with artificial intelligence, I do it in Cursor. And really, it can do a lot. But when I remember when VS Code first came out, what it was like a breath of fresh air. It was so nice to work with all of it. And now it's kind of sad that it's fallen behind. And I switched to Cursor and have already forgotten about it.
I think it has fallen behind. I truly believe that they could even potentially revive it. And the significant move to transform Microsoft Copilot into a truly autonomous agent is precisely in that particular direction. They are truly losing out because they simply cannot utilize many other valuable models. That is to say, they are primarily and predominantly focused, since it is Microsoft, after all, mostly and almost exclusively on OpenAI. And Cursor, thanks to being independent, gives you the opportunity to try out a lot of things and faster. It also reaches all sorts of other tools, but Cursor does it quite quickly. So, for example, if you hear about a new model, within about a week, it will already be available in Cursor.
On a more down-to-earth level, I can't imagine why I would go back to VS Code. when I need to work with code and there's something I haven't done in Cursor yet, maybe I've set up some rules. I already have projects there and it's just easier for me to launch VS. Code, I don't know what more they would have to do compared to Cursor. You say native models are being connected. I don't even, maybe it's not right, but I don't pay attention. I just work with the auto selection. I only notice if the model generates code. That's not what I need. I know the recommendation is try another model. But there's just no point. I don't see any reason to go back to VS Code.
Look, did you really see any compelling reason to switch to Visual Studio Code back when it didn't even exist yet? That's just leaving. Well, I don't know. All right.
It's not that interesting. I'm more interested in Cursor. You say you're focusing on it now, hopefully to use it at work.
Yes. Well, at the same time, I also sneak a peek at WebStorm a bit.
All right, then please tell me. So are you already actively using this in your current communication projects and perhaps even pushing for its wider adoption within the department?
How are we pushing it? Adoption in the department? Overall, we've come to the conclusion that we're really losing out on estimates. Somewhere at the beginning of 2022, by the end of 2022, we had already started to clearly understand that we were really losing out on estimates compared to teams that are not in Omics. And we started to analyze why this was happening, more actively seeking feedback from clients if it was possible to get it, and trying harder to understand what other teams were doing that allowed them to do it faster. And we came across several repositories that had been given to us as test assignments where someone had already done the work. What was strange was that the code was very similar, as if the same person had participated in all of them. Not all of it was written in exactly the same way, but there were certain stylistic features that these repositories had in common. And we started looking very carefully for the specific tools that were being used to accomplish this, because it was abundantly obvious that this was indeed a publicly available tool and that this was not a coincidence. This is already being used somewhere on a large scale.
So yes, that is correct. But
at that time, we already had some fake numbers registered for ChatGPT. It wasn't available in Ukraine yet, so I called colleagues in Poland. We registered virtual SIM cards to get a number and access ChatGPT. In short, we got those numbers in various ways, registered, tried things out, and found some of them there. Some we found in popular tools and plugins that helped save time. And from that moment, we started actively working on implementing new changes and making sure they appeared for us quickly. Because basically, if it takes you half a year to implement a change, in today's reality, it just doesn't make sense. In half a year, at best, everyone will already have it. Otherwise, you won't even be able to catch up with everyone. We started looking for different tools. After our work with ChatGPT, we subsequently moved on to the V0 platform. V0 is a sophisticated platform that was specifically developed by Versal. These are indeed the very same talented individuals and developers who are currently developing the highly popular Next.js. So in terms of technology, they're pretty close to us, and we started working with it, a paid subscription. And that opened up a lot of opportunities for us. Yes, that's it.
so what kind of opportunities?
For example, they talk about landing pages and all that. It's really great at bootstrapping apps. So you can feed it. Back then, you could already promote it, and we started giving it a list of the desired tools we wanted to use in the project. And just from the description, it would generate the project structure. It used popular technologies. Overall, our position has always been that we consistently try to work with the most popular and widely used technologies, primarily because it genuinely makes it much easier to effectively communicate with the client. And to justify our point of view, because when you go in, it's your point of view against the point of view of someone external from the client side, and whoever has better arguments, you end up in a heated debate. But instead you say, this is the most popular technology, it's the easiest to use, and if it's just a matter of preference, then okay. Oh, I see.
I didn't quite fully grasp that. So you have successfully acquired for yourself a paid subscription service, and now you are actively utilizing it to generate the fundamental project structure for all of your commercial projects. Is that correct?
We generate the structure, we bootstrap the project. It bootstraps the project really well. It also works really well with documentation. So if you don't know how to properly or effectively implement something in a new library, you have two options. Well, actually three. You can go and read the documentation, which takes a long time. You can ask ChatGPT and try to work with the snippets it gives you. Or you can use Null and it will generate code for you, which you can pair program with, make corrections to, and edit right there online. The code it generates can be further refined based on your edits, allowing you to develop your ideas further. So they also provide a small online editor there. And what's really cool is that you could host all of this right there. So it gets deployed immediately to some big URL and you can show it off. It can handle environment variables. So if you need to use it's a party service, you go there, give it your environment variables, and it already connects your authentication through Google or something else. And that's basically it. What was missing? There was no database.
It generated a landing page for me in 5 minutes, a landing port.
Yes. And you can see the code. Switch to the code tab. If you tell it to make some changes, it versions them. So you can roll back 2 or 3 versions. It's considered like a commit. And if it goes in the wrong direction, and you can look at a preview or share this preview with someone.
So it can be, for example, a very good and effective solution.
Functional.
This is suitable for prototypes, right? I actually have no idea how to view the structure because everything is in one file here.
Click on app. No, you absolutely need to expand it right there in that specific location. And here you will find the file tree, which is conveniently located at the very bottom of the display.
The icon?
A bit above the console, there's an arrow there, I think. And here's the tree, but this is a tree of changes. You can ask it to show all the files in the project, and it will show you all of them.
Okay, so you just generate some application here, and you don't download it to your personal computer, and you just continue to keep editing it right here in the cloud, right?
Until we're ready to commit it. And then after that, we transfer the code. Back then, there was no integration with databases here. Now, in suggestions, you can see Neon Supabase, so you can integrate with some
database. Where do you click for that?
Bottom right corner next to the chat with it. Oh, sorry, left, next to the chat with it, a bit higher. There's suggestions, a bit more. Yeah. Here, you can add the integrations that are available in Vercel. Back then, this particular feature was not yet readily available, and we were still actively looking and are indeed still looking in parallel at bolt.new. It bears a strong resemblance to this current chat interface, but they successfully managed to implement their integrations a bit earlier than anticipated. They added databases a bit earlier. That's why they're...
I don't see it here. Databases. Well, all online users are like that. Okay.
Yes, they don't lift. Well, in general, they don't do anything like that there, meaning you connect either to Supabase or Neon, and bolt.new, like Alternativa, had a cool feature. They work better with mobile frameworks, and since we're focused on React as well, it was pretty easy. Plus, both of them have Figma import. So you can import your design, and it will create a component based on that design.
Do you also currently use this in your production environment? And how much time does it typically take to fully adapt?
Well, look, I wouldn't necessarily say that it dramatically sped up our overall process, but what we were indeed able to achieve was a significant reduction in the initial estimate, cutting it down by approximately 50% of its original projected value. That's taking into account the bug fixes and all that, because to say it sped me up tenfold, but you still need to tweak things a bit, that's not quite accurate, because those tweaks actually take quite a while. We managed to cut it down by about 50%.
So would you say that artificial intelligence has already impacted you in such a way that the expectations for productivity have doubled?
Most likely, yes, because if you don't do this, you simply won't get onto a project. You're 2, 3, even 4 times more expensive than your competitor.
You're talking about new projects, right? Because you don't win those projects, your bid isn't competitive.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And what about the old projects? What's going on with Hydra?
Well, look, on Hydra, they are now actively using Juni, and Anton has recently started experimenting with a new Copilot agent. I believe in it less, but I'm watching, observing, and I hope that something interesting will come out of it. I would really like them to succeed, the Copilot team. Plus, all the layout, whatever goes through, it goes through these tools.
Interesting.
Overall, we haven't been doing layout from scratch for about 2 years now.
So if there's a design in Figma, right?
It's very rare that there isn't one. So we just take the standard de facto. We take the design from Figma, and even if there isn't one, we have screenshots, and all these AI tools do a great job laying out based on screenshots. I didn't like the decision to give in to Tailwind, but we were forced to surrender to Tailwind because all of them do layouts using Tailwind. And we started using Tailwind. As a result, you just drop a link to Figma or a screenshot, and then the AI generates the layout for you, which you just edit afterwards. So we've shifted from creating to refactoring.
I've heard quite a bit about the significant problem with these tools. Specifically, Tailwind 4 has recently been officially released, but all of the existing tools only currently recognize and support version 3.
We'll stick with version 3 for a while.
But now there are MSP servers and MSP with documentation, which connects the documentation to your project for context.
It's available, but it still doesn't work perfectly. I've had a couple of cases where I was literally arguing with the agent. I even showed it the documentation and connected the server. I tell it, no, that's an outdated method. We need to use the new one. And for about 5-6 sentences, 5-6 responses, it keeps telling me, no, dude, you're wrong. But I'm looking at the latest documentation, so it works somewhere it doesn't. So overall, it's worth waiting a bit.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. So that what will you demonstrate? What are you working on? And maybe how?
Look, I can show you in general and how my work on the project with the bot we use for pre-sales looks like. First of all, because it's safe, I can show this code, it's internal. And secondly, it probably contains all the latest things I have.
So let's talk about what this bot is, when it appeared, and how to use it.
This is a bot that generates answers to client inquiries on Upwork. So a client has a post, a job post. The lead generator copies this text, sends it to the bot in Slack. The bot picks it up, analyzes it, and generates a response. For quite some considerable time, we diligently worked closely with both Vlada and Tanya in order to thoroughly figure out precisely how we could effectively speed up or significantly improve this entire complex process. And as a result, we ended up with this kind of bot. For quite a long time, probably about a year, it delivered pretty good results. Eventually, we probably reached the point where everyone is already doing it this way, so some changes are needed. I'm currently working on these changes to make it relevant again. Right now, it's not as relevant anymore.
Smarter and more useful.
Yes, maybe. I always work with 2 dedicated and highly skilled editors. I work with Cursor and WebStorm because, well, I always try to thoroughly test out new and innovative tools. I'm genuinely interested in precisely how they are seamlessly integrated with each other, specifically meaning WebStorm. Right now, it currently has Yegent, which unfortunately doesn't work very well at all, leading to some significant frustrations and inefficiencies in my workflow. It has Juni, which you and Oleg talked about. It's smarter, but still doesn't quite measure up to Cursor. And finally, there's the Copilot Agent. There, I've already connected the MSP server, and I hope it will work better because right now it even has issues running commands. What's labeled as a preview really is a preview because it works less than it doesn't. I go in maybe 2 or 3 times a week and try to write something with it. Well, all right, let's wait. We're waiting for it to be rolled out.
It just feels so unpleasant, doesn't it? Copilot was the very first to come out back in March 2022, and now it can't keep up. Keep up with the pace of development?
I don't see it. Maybe they don't really need to. After all, they have a stake in OpenAI, so they're not in a big rush.
Well, in their own political game, Altman genuinely wants to leave and take his significant share from Microsoft.
Well, let's see where this leads. Overall, this is a Next.js project. It has a certain web interface for slightly different tasks, and it's integrated, in fact, with this bot. There's also integration with Supabase, and there used to be integration with Prisma, but I had to give up Prisma because I wanted to go a bit deeper and try to analyze the context of what we're receiving. Prisma is a framework that seamlessly connects to virtually any database. Not just popular options like Postgres, but also to a wide array of other diverse databases, providing extensive compatibility. It works perfectly, really cool, very easy to describe the schema. And it generates automatic migrations for that schema. It can also automatically create, well, not automatically, but with this schema, it's really convenient to create various validators and then go to the API and then work with them. But it doesn't support vector data types. A vector data type is data that's used to understand how similar two texts are to each other. OpenAI has this thing called Ember.
Can Postgres effectively store and manage data within this particular vector type?
If you add a module to it, there's a module that can store it. That's why Prisma can't do this, so I had to switch to OSPB. It's quite a painful migration process because you have to rewrite everything that was written before. So somewhere here in, no, not in the actions.
Well, wait, and what am I? There's an agent, but you can't just tell it to rewrite from working with Postgres to Supabase.
Claude Code couldn't do it. Claude Code couldn't do it. Cursor couldn't do it. None of them count. They managed to handle a large-scale task, meaning they do rewrite the work, and a lot of code gets generated, but everything crashes, nothing works. And it takes a very long time to fix it because it's also tied to the migration to Supabase. There, it connects a bunch of MSPs, starts lagging, so no, we're not going with this. Now, step by step, gradually, because unfortunately, it just can't do that yet, I will send forth an agent who actually possesses the knowledge and capability to properly process these specific requests. And so we're moving on to basically primary tag list.
I'm particularly interested in your experience.